progressive agenda works from the concept that we need to reward work, not just wealth in this country, and it basically is a set of ideas about how we raise wages and benefits, how we help working families, and how we create progressive taxation in this country. And the reason I think this is the kind of coalition effort that will make a difference is we're already seeing leaders from all over the country, elected officials, labor leaders, activists, cultural figures, signing on to this effort because they realize that this is a moment where progressive change is possible. People are talking about income inequality all over this country.
So when you talk about the rise of the 1%, the rise of inequality generally, you're talking about a finance story. Finance has skyrocketed. It's doubled its share of the top 1%. It's become much more profitable, much bigger part of the economy. This huge expanding financial sector has not made our economy more efficient or more innovative. That's why it's essential that wrongdoing is punished and that there are strict rules of the road when it comes to the financial sector.
Rules are not the enemy of markets. Rules are the necessary ingredient for healthy markets, for markets that create competition and innovation.
I think the government has an important role to play in regulating and supporting the financial industry. The first is just the safety net for everyday people, that they have insurance on their deposits so that we don't have to repeat the experience we had in the 1920s of bank runs.
So as progressives, we have to reject the conservative assumption that it's only heroic entrepreneurs and business people who create wealth and jobs in this economy.
We're all job creators. It's a little unclear to me what that term means. If it's a polite term for plutocrats, for people with billions of dollars who want to buy and corrupt our democracy, I suppose that's why billionaires buy PR firms.
The important thing to remember when people talk about a free market is that that's kind of a nonsense term. The economy is always structured by rules, by laws, by people who enforce those rules, and there's no way to get around that. Now the question is who those rules work for and if they're structured in a way that's fair and ensures a more equitable economy.
Anything we create, we can reinvent. And unfortunately, we keep falling into these conventional wisdom patterns of trickle-down economy that don't function.
Supporters of trickle-down claimed that if government policies took care of the rich and the powerful, wealth would trickle down on everyone else. And these trickle-down believers cut taxes sharply for those at the top, and then to pay for it, they cut our investments in the future.
We've been looking at the issue of the economy for the last several decades and who is worked for and who is not worked for. Looking at the issue of the uber rich and their influence on the economy and gaming the system, from corporations using their influence to drive down wages to corporate dollars polluting our political system. We know here at US Action that the economic driver of this country, of this economy, is the middle class.
50 years ago, 1 in 3 Americans belonged to a union. Now that number is 1 in 10. We saw during the 20th century what happens when we invest in workers and we protect in workers. Unions and laws protecting workers grew stronger. Our economy grew along with them. Profits went up, productivity went up, workers' incomes went up.
The Republican budget is the same old that we've seen now for 8 budget years in a row. Same budget, same concept. The few get richer, corporate America gets more profits, and the American people have to sustain themselves in low-paying jobs, a shrinking middle class, and an inability to see the future with hope and with opportunity. Our budget turned all that around. We thought we had a necessary contrast, not just an alternative, something that the American people can look at and say, this is a budget about me and my family.
When we have an economy that is so out of balance, with a tiny percentage of our country controlling the vast, disproportionate share of its wealth and resources, that is an economy without an engine of demand for goods and services. People who don't earn enough at their jobs can't spend enough to generate the kind of demand that creates economic growth and vitality and prosperity.
No more handouts to particular industries or corporations simply because they're big enough and powerful enough to get them. No more specialized tax breaks. No more exemptions or bailouts or special treatment. No more crony capitalism.
The idea that there are corporations who evade those taxes or mitigate those taxes by parking their money overseas is absolutely unjust, unfair, and in fact insidious.
Raising wages is grounded in a fundamental idea that we can become a high-wage society, a society in which the people who do the work share in the wealth that we create.
I provide paid sick days for my employees. I provide health care for my employees. I run 2 profitable businesses, and I've seen firsthand, both in my heart and my pocketbook, that putting people before profits is good for my bottom line, good for my workers, and good for this country.
After a lifetime of work, people are entitled to retire with dignity. We must protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare.
We have to invest in infrastructure in this country to make sure that our roads, our bridges, our education systems are up to par and allow our country to advance.
Where we move away from an economy that's driven by oil, gas, and coal to one that is driven by wind, solar, and other forms of energy.
The most important thing we should do is bust up the big banks. Any bank that is too big to fail is too big, period.
This isn't charity. This is not about punishing business. We know when business does well and when businesses pay well and invest and provide decent benefits, the whole country does better. And you know what? Then business does better.
The key steps aren't hard to understand. It just takes political courage and a strong demand from the public.
This is not a pipe dream, it's not a fantasy. It is something that we can, through our collective action, make happen in the United States of America. And in so doing, every single American family would benefit.